gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Welcome to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are gathered here together to be part of a community committed to radical inclusion, to feeding the human spirit, and to healing the world. We welcome you, whoever you are, however you are. We recognize that each one of us has inherent worth and dignity, and that we are all part of the greater web of existence. Our sanctuary is in Summit, New Jersey, but today we are gathering from many different locations, physically distant, but also in many ways more connected than ever. We would love to see pictures of you. If you could send us photos of how you are experiencing worship today, we will be able to share them with the congregation who wants to see you. In these times, it feels like such a gift to be able to connect. We do feel your presence, and we welcome you to our morning worship. We invite you now to light a chalice, and we welcome new members Lottie, Thomas, Tira, and Lila Foose, who are lighting their home chalice today. Beacon's theme for April is renewal. To own a bit of ground, to scratch it with a hoe, to plant seeds and watch the renewal of life. This is the commonest delight, the most satisfying thing one can do.
Hey, Jermaine, what's happening this week?
Oh, hi, Julie. Well, what's happening this week is what the story today is all about. As an added bonus, it ties in with our theme this month, which is renewal.
That's a big word. 3 syllables. Renewal. What does it mean?
It means to make new, kind of like a do-over or a second chance. So, let's jump into the story, shall we?
Wait, you're going to tell the whole story? Is it long?
Okay, I can tell the beginning, and then you can all read about it in the Haggadah, which is the booklet that tells the full story of Passover. We will send it to you by email. Nothing like a little suspense to get the week started, right?
Yep, can't wait for the Haggadah, where the story is told over a Seder, a family meal. The story of Passover is told over a family meal called a Seder. And we'll email it to you next week.
So let's get the story. The first Passover happened a long time ago in a faraway land called Egypt. People, called the Israelites, had grown into a large and productive community. Around the same time, a mean and powerful leader named the Pharaoh ruled Egypt. He was worried that because the Israelites had grown so large, that they would one day try to overthrow him. And so he passed a law that made all Israelites his slaves. And as slaves, the Israelites worked very hard. From morning until night, they hammered and dug and hauled bricks. They built castles and cities and worked really hard without rest. The Israelites hated being slaves. And so they cried out to God. And God sent Moses to help lead the Israelites out of slavery. Moses went to the Pharaoh and he said, God is not happy with the way you treat the Israelites, and he wants you to let the Israelites leave Egypt and move into the desert where they can be free. But Pharaoh stomped his foot and said, no, I will never let the Israelites go. Moses warned him, if you don't listen to God, many bad things called plagues will come to your land. But Pharaoh wasn't having it, and he didn't listen. So the plagues arrived. First, the water turned to blood. Then, frogs overwhelmed the streets and the houses of the people. Later, wild animals ran through their houses, and then balls of ice, hail fell from the sky, and bugs called locusts ate up all of their food. Each time a new plague began, Pharaoh would say, "Moses, I'll let the Israelites go. Just stop the horrible plague." And as soon as God would remove the plague, Pharaoh would say, "Nope, I've changed my mind. The Israelites must stay." Finally, God sent the 10th and worst plague of all, the death of the firstborn children in each house. Moses instructed the Israelites to prepare a Passover offering to God, a lamb or a goat that they would slaughter and then sprinkle the blood over the doorways and lintels of their homes. And God would pass over these homes when he came to kill the firstborn. After that plague, Pharaoh had finally had enough, and he ran frantically through the streets until he found Moses. "Go," he yelled, "and take the Israelites with you."
Don't stop now. Keep going. What happens?
You'll just have to read about it in the Haggadah and tell it at your family Seder.
Oh, thanks a lot. Just kidding. I really enjoyed listening to the first part of the story, but what does it have to do with renewal again?
Well, the renewal piece is that the Israelites had to renew their relationship to God and commit to leading a free life and making sure that other people live free as well. And as Unitarian Universalists, we not only share this history, but that obligation as well. And the story is here to remind ourselves to renew our commitments to justice, peace, and helping those in need.
Good morning, Beacon. As part of the offering this morning, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I wanted to take a moment to reflect on how thankful I am for Beacon in these uncertain times. In short order, and despite the challenges of working remotely, the Beacon leadership team, staff, and fellow congregants have stepped up to continue our mission as best we can, virtually. Through weekly virtual services, virtual touchpoints, and countless other virtual interactions, Beacon is rising to face the need. However, as you might imagine, recent events have also posed challenges for Beacon. To ensure that Beacon not only has the resources to meet the acute needs of the moment, but to also ensure that Beacon is positioned to renew its commitment to its mission in the physical world after this crisis, we ask that you give generously this Sunday. Moreover, if you feel moved by Beacon's efforts through this crisis and are fortunate enough to consider increasing your giving over the course of the coming year, please reach out to anyone on the board, the leadership team, or the stewardship team. If, on the other hand, your circumstances have changed and you need to reconsider what you can contribute, please also reach out as you feel comfortable to discuss. Contributions of any amount are critically important to Beacon at this time and will make a difference. Most importantly, know that Beacon will continue to be here serving our mission. In the past few weeks, we have come together as a community, and I have faith that we will survive this crisis stronger than ever, having learned many new ways in which we can support each other and come together as a community.
We invite you now into our ritual of candle lighting, one that we hold each week at Beacon. We invite you to light a candle in your home, maybe for a joy that you hold, or maybe a sorrow. You can do this as you watch Reverend Robin light candles in our sanctuary at Beacon. You are also welcome to lift up the name, to write it in the chat box where you are watching the service, so that we may hold that person in our hearts. We also light a candle this day for the Trans Day of Visibility that was on March 31st, lifting up and holding our trans brothers, sisters, and siblings, holding up who they are and celebrating who they are. We now invite you to light candles. Candles of hope, candles of peace, candles of love.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. Peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
For today's meditation, you are invited to consider the images on the screen or remain with your eyes gently closed or gazing at a spot in front of you. The images on your screen are watercolors made by our friend Don Chandler, who has generously shared them with us. If your mind wanders during the meditation, you are invited to gently bring it back without judgment to once again reflect on the images or on your breath, your hands, your feet, or wherever you may be seated. As we settle in, we consider where we are in our bodies and spirits, taking measure of our internal weather systems. Perhaps there's a restlessness and a new energy, just as it is in nature around us. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, as the earth turns towards the sun and warmer days are upon us, new life is bursting forth. Everywhere we look, daffodils and tulips are emerging. There are new buds on leaves, and the leaves themselves are a fresh, newborn green. Many of you have told us in recent days of how much inspiration you are getting from being out for walks in the woods. Some of you who are housebound have told us of the nature shows you are watching. We know that we can bring the same attention with which we notice things outside of us to notice things within us. It might not be immediately evident, but with a little time and focus, we can develop the concentration to consider our inner climate. For some of us, there is a parallel with the bursting forth of nature, a growing energy and renewal. Our internal climate is connected to that which is occurring outside of us. For others, it is a more quiet time of reflection. Whether it is a more quiet, reflective time or an exciting time, we know that joy is available to us whenever we need it. It is this which is at the root of the emerging daffodil and tulip. And so too in our hearts and minds, joy can emerge. We observe it, notice it, without craving or attachment, allowing it to wash over us when it does. And so we invite you, in this and in your daily meditations, to consider how you are connected to that which is happening in your outside environment and how it reflects what is happening on the inside and vice versa. And when there is joy, may it wash over you. You are invited to take a deep breath in, slowly open your eyes, or send a wish of gratitude to Dawn Chandler for sharing her gift of art with us.
Our reading today is written by the Reverend Odette Fulbright Fulson. If you need to fall apart, then do. For life will hold you in that. Will teach you how to desiccate and blow away. And then will call you back from the four corners of earth, and will renew you with the water of the tears of others, who, like you, weep for all that is lost. She will breathe back into you the breath that washes from the mouths of children laughing from the lion's roar.
If I could travel back in time to March 1st, I would give myself one piece of advice. Go get a haircut. I know that feels terrible to say, probably to hear as well. I'm a minister, for goodness sake. How can I care about something as trivial as a haircut when people are suffering? I have chided myself. But I'm here to tell you that the struggle is real. I think that's part of what makes this time so surreal. We're holding two extremes side by side. Like, how can we be going through such a horrible pandemic in the midst of this amazing season of new life, of rebirth, and joyful flowering? Last Sunday, in one of our social hour small groups, I learned about the wisdom of Chinese fortune cookies. One of our members told us about their continual watching of the news, that they couldn't stop watching it, and their blood pressure was rising and rising until they passed by the refrigerator and noticed the Chinese fortune cookie, or the fortune itself, sitting there, and it said, "Whatever you pay attention to grows. Whatever you pay attention to grows." This week, Krista Tippett, a public radio broadcaster, reposted a conversation she had with writer Ross Gay. It is an invitation for us to pay attention, but not an either-or attention that I witness as people vacillate between the extremes of watching the news all the time or not watching it at all. Not that sort of either-or. Instead, Ross invites us to pay attention to the both and. He asks us, how can we pay attention to both the horrible and the beautiful, both the death and the joy, side by side? Because, my friends, the truth is that in the next couple of weeks, this is the journey that we are on. This is what we face and face together. We will all know someone who has died of COVID-19. And we will face this loss in the midst of a season of exploding joy and rebirth. Our spiritual task is to hold them side by side. Delight might help us. The etymology of the word delight is another example of both and. It means something of light, something filled with light, something infused with it. And also, it is a something without light or after the light. The word holds both the something with light itself and also notices that at some point there will be an absence of light. It's like that song, Ain't No Sunshine, by Bill Withers, who died this week. His voice holds the great joy of being in her presence, alongside the great sorrow of when she has to go away. This house just ain't no home anytime she goes away. Amen, Bill Withers. Amen. I know that you know this, friends. I know you know the reality of holding those two things together. It was 1 year ago that I began a 2-month sabbatical of practicing stillness and going nowhere. Yes, you heard that right. For 2 months, I let go of my relentless need to work and to be of purpose. And instead, I practiced stillness and I went nowhere, capital N. When my father was stricken with Alzheimer's, you see, I witnessed my workaholic father strive to create a life's purpose without his work, without being able to produce anything. And I asked myself, well, what value does life have when you are forced simply to be? And so my sabbatical was a time of narrow focus, just as my dad's life had become, so that I might discover something more expansive in what life even means, the both and of life. This anniversary is not lost on me. I am reminded about that time a year ago because the seeds that I planted then are springing up and saying to me, remember us? Remember that time that you had? A colleague said to me last week, how did you do this for 2 months? And I said, well, you're about to find out. You are. But let's be clear that this is not a sabbatical, this thing that we are living through. In fact, many of us are now working more hours, multiple jobs, juggling more than we can bear as we attempt to do what was too much before, now just virtually. As we attempt to flatten the pandemic, as we attempt to save one more life, as we attempt to reach out to one more isolated person. It's clear it's not a sabbatical. Just talk to any parent. Just talk to any healthcare worker. Yet life has been narrowed in this time. What we can do, and even harder, what we can control right now has become severely restricted. My colleague, Wendy Williams, reminded me that in the Jewish tradition, there is a word, I hope to say it well, mitzarim, meaning narrow straits. Out of the narrow place, we can discover new life. It can renew our sense of what it means to live. If we pay attention, this time of narrowing can teach us how to renew our lives, and yes, potentially how to renew our communities. What you pay attention to grows. And we are living a true Passover moment. One of our members, Laura, joked, I never thought I'd have to cancel my Seder for a plague. You really don't know whether to cry or to laugh at that one, and I thank Laura for it. But the rituals of Passover through the Seder, done year in and year out, have the power to hold us through this duality of time, through this both horrible and beautiful time. Rituals hold us. It is through the rituals of the time that we will find the courage to face it. together. The Reverend Anya Samler-Michael shared with me that with each new death that she learns about, she can feel a weight settling on her bones. Do you feel it? I know I do. In this narrow place, we cannot gather to celebrate life or to mourn the loss of the person we have known and loved. And that's hard. So Anya decided that she needed a personal ritual. She has set up a small altar in her house with a candle, a card, a book of matches, and a box for those burnt matches. Whenever Reverend Anya hears of a death, she writes the name of the person on the card. She then strikes a match. She lights the candle. And she says the name, Bill Withers. She blows out the match and she places it in the box with the other matches, the other lives that are lost. She might then hold a moment of silence, say a prayer, or sing a song. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and this house just ain't no home anytime she goes away. The ritual holds both the profound sorrow of the loss and also celebrates the person. They did not go unnoticed into the night. We feel their absence and we love them. It is rituals like this that will hold us through this narrowing place and will renew our humanity. And we have to create them. We have to remember them like Reverend Anya did. Even if it's dancing at 5 o'clock that you've survived another day, even if it's lighting a candle in the morning that you've woken up and that you are alive, whatever it is, create these rituals and make them a part of your life. Allow them to renew you. I am reminded, of course, of another Bill Withers song. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain. We all have sorrow. Are you singing with me? You know the next line. Yeah, it's the song Lean on Me. I hope that you are continuing to sing as I talk. It's a song that holds the both and, the pain and the sorrow, and it has got a beat. It invites you to dance. And that's the sort of songs that we need in this time. This is what writer Ross Gay is talking about. He defines joy as these moments when his disconnection from other people just melts away. How many of us feel like we are constantly, or at least sometimes in our lives, outside the circle of belonging? Joy, says Ross, is the experience of belonging. Joy is the experience of having a common experience with one another, with one person, with all people, with nature itself. That's right, that is what joy is. What's the one central thing, Ross asks, that binds us together as humans? We are mortal, and we love mortal beings. He calls it the great joining, Joyning experience. You may not feel the joy from that just yet, I know, so let me explain. For Ross, it means that our common experience of mortality actually pulls us into the circle. It draws us closer to one another. We realize how much we need one another. We see our grief in another's eyes. We witness our own mortality as another one lets go. And there we discover belonging. We become connected like never before. It has the power to both heal us if we let it, if we dare to see it, for we know we are not alone. Today, I call you to pull up Bill Withers' voice, his music. Sing along, dance along to Lean on Me, find the beat, for it captures the attention, this both and attention that we are invited into. Let that be your daily ritual through this narrowing. Let it call forth a joy that is rooted in our shared sorrow. Let it call forth a belonging that will never let us go. Let it call forth a love that is stronger than death. Just call on me, brother, sister, sibling, when you need a hand, because we all need someone to lean on. Alice Walker reminds us to look closely at the present that you are constructing, because it should look like the future that you are dreaming. It's just another way of saying whatever you pay attention to grows. And this is what we want to grow. If you could travel forward in time to April 5th next year, what would you hope to see? Yes, I will have a haircut, goodness knows. Or, I could have long brown hair. It doesn't matter. But we will have one another, some in body and others in spirit. We will have one another, and that's what matters. Amen.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in a beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat
Let us carry on singing from our homes, out our windows, through our front doors. Let us carry on singing songs that proclaim liberty.
Songs that turn ashes into garlands.
Songs that bind up the afflicted and those who mourn.
Songs
that, like oaks, have roots that go deep and stand strong. Let us keep on singing.
We know these songs. They vibrate through time, in our very souls.
They are the songs that give us life. They are the songs that give us meaning.
They are the songs that give us purpose. Let us go now, singing these songs with voices deep and strong.
And may the world join us in praise, in celebration.